Thank you very much, Muhammad. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues. I'm going to use the next 20-25 minutes to explain why I got involved in the book. And I will say at the outset, if I had known the amount of work that was involved in it, I probably would have declined the offer to do this book. Before going into the book, a few words about my relationship with the subject of the book, and that is Golda Meir. The story starts 114 years ago in the city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 1906. Two little Jewish immigrant girls meet at public school number 4 in Milwaukee. Their families have just immigrated from Eastern Europe. They didn't know a word of English. They spoke Yiddish, and they became lifelong friends. One was Golda Mabovich, who became Golda Meir. The other was Regina Hamburger, who became Regina Hamburger Medzini, and she was my mother. So I first met Golda Meir, I'm told, when I was 2 years old. I have no recollection of that meeting. That was in 1934. But I knew Golda Meir quite well as a child, and then as a student, and then I served in the governments of Prime Minister Ben-Gurion, Eshkol, as spokesman for the Prime Minister, and then finally 5 years under Golda Meir, the last year as her spokesman, the last and probably a harrowing year of the Yom Kippur War. Over the years, I wrote 2 biographies. One appeared in Hebrew in 1990, and that was about 12 years after she died. She died in 1978, and I called it it appeared only in Hebrew, it's called The Proud Jewess. And that was an attempt to tell Israelis, younger generation, who she was, what she did, based on the documents and material available at the time. The book did fairly well. At least it paid for my first computer. And then years later, in 2008, the same publisher asked me to revise the book. By then, great deal of material became available. Documents were now opened, and in fact, I had second thoughts about some of the things that I wrote in the first volume, and that one appeared in 2008. Several years later, I was asked by De Gruyter's, which is a German publishing house, to do it in English. It appeared in English in 2016. In fact, anyone interested, you can download it for free, I think on Amazon, if you have the energy to download 743 pages. I would not recommend it, but the book weighs in English, I think, about 2 kilos. So I've been quite familiar with my subject, and it was more or less inevitable that the publisher in America, Rowman and Littlefield, would come to me to ask to do this reference book. Had I known then what it would involve, I probably would have rejected the offer. It's not a straightforward biography. It consists of a number of parts that are, let's say, a companion book to a biography. It starts off with the chronology, and then followed by a more or less 30 pages, I believe, of the story of her life. The key element is what they call entries, from A to Z, over 100, perhaps even 150 entries, dealing with names, personalities, events, movements, ideas, places, all connected in one way or another with the life and work of Golda Meir. And that was basically a very tedious job, because when you have to do an entry of about 10 lines, you have to abbreviate, you have to shorten it. And it's a very long and hard and difficult work. This is followed by a bibliography. And that gave me an opportunity once again to review the existing material about Golda Meir. It turns out that she became probably more popular outside of Israel than inside Israel. Inside Israel, there's a lot of criticism about her, especially her role during and after the Yom Kippur War. But even before that, she was seen as a pretty hard, let's say, her policies were seen as inflexible. And she was unwilling to see certain things. People also were not aware of her major contribution before she became prime minister. In many respects, she became prime minister after her glorious past and not before. So the bibliography afforded me once again opportunity to review the material. There are at least 50 biographies of Golda Meir. Of the 50 that I know, I would say that 5 are really valuable. And the best book, if anyone is interested, is by an American journalist, not a historian, called Francine Klaxbrun. It's called Lioness. And that is first class. That is probably the best. There's another good biography by another Israeli historian. I think my book on Golda also is fairly decent. Most of the others were written by people who either didn't know Israel, certainly did not know Golda Meir, were not familiar with the times, with the zeitgeist, with the spirit of the times in Israel, and therefore failed to understand the events. Above all, they were not familiar with Israeli politics. After all, Golda Meir was not only prime minister, she was the leader of the Labour Party, of the largest party. And during her time, that party went into sclerosis, went into a rot, which resulted in their loss in the elections of 1977. So you have a long bibliography. And then again, I had to go and do the index, which is 3 days of boring work. And all this together is the reference book of life and work of Golda Meir. I would say the following. If you'd ask me, what is the memory of Golda Meir in Israel today? On the one hand, she is responsible for our social legislation, social security, various labor laws, women's working hours, children working hours, day and rest, medical services, and so on. And that is probably the enduring legacy of Golda Meir. And this she did while she was Minister of Labor and Construction from 1949 to 1956. And she herself referred to them as her 7 good years. As foreign minister, she opened up Israel's relations with the Third World. By the way, she tried India and did not succeed. I don't think she ever understood India. I don't think she understood Asia. She understood Africa much better than Asia. And therefore, her main achievement was the opening up of ties with the African countries. During her term as foreign minister, Israel had more embassies on the African continent than a small country called the United States. She's also responsible very much for the turnaround of the American policy towards Israel, persuading President Kennedy to, for the first time, supply Israel with offensive weapons. It started with ground-to-air missiles and then was followed by tanks, airplanes, and America today, of course, is Israel's major arms supplier. I would say that the foundations of this change of policy were the result of her efforts. As Prime Minister, I cannot really think of any major contribution. Maybe, and that's a long shot, if we had to have a war, and personally I think it was inevitable, not so much linked with her intransigent policies. We were lucky that she was at the helm when Israel was fighting for over 20 days. Very hard, harsh, difficult times, huge number of casualties. And she was probably the only one who did not lose her head. She sat there smoking 2 packs a day of cigarettes, endless cups of coffee, sober, understanding, calm, cool, collected. She knew more or less what to do. But the Yom Kippur War was her undoing. It is in a book of this type, unlike a biography, it is very difficult to go into personalities, to explain basically the type of person she was. She could be magnanimous, charming, charismatic, fascinating, motherly. She could also be mean, nasty, and petty. I mean, she put her mind to it. I'll give you one story which I witnessed. Israel had a foreign minister by the name of Abba Eban, whom she disliked for a variety of reasons. And one day after she resigned in April 1974, we were sitting in her office and somebody came and said to her, "Golda, did you hear about Eban?" She said, "What about Eban?" And the answer was, "Eban wants to be prime minister." And she looked at him and said, "Of which country?" That was, she could be quite these barbs that she had at people. She disliked Shimon Peres intensely. And she said, I remember once he did something she didn't like, and she said, "What do you say about that?" And he said, "We don't know. What do you think?" She said, "I keep telling you, he's infantile." Otherwise, he's childish, not to be taken seriously. Therefore, she could be very, very mean to her opponents, but she could be very nice, charming to her supporters and the people around her. I think I would stop here, and I hope that by now there'll be some questions about Golda, about the book, anything else that you wish to ask.
Oh, yeah.